Good morning, everyone. Let us continue our discussion about the reaction undergone by group 1 elements. So, in the previous class, we discussed the reaction with water. So, today we will discuss the reaction with air. So, if we generally look at the various elements and how they react with air, we find that lithium, when it reacts with air, it forms mostly lithium monoxide, and lithium is the only element which reacts with one of the components of the air, that is nitrogen, to form lithium nitride. Apart from that, there is some amount of lithium peroxide also formed when lithium reacts with air. In comparison to lithium, if we look into sodium, when it reacts with air, it forms sodium peroxide and some amounts of sodium monoxide. However, rest of the alkali metals, they react with air to form mostly superoxides. So we are going to look into the monoxides, peroxides and superoxides in and their features. So you can make the monoxide or superoxide or the peroxide of every element in a controlled way. So this is the reaction that it undergoes when you normally react an element with the air. Okay, so if you want to exclusively prepare oxide of an element or exclusively prepare peroxide or superoxide of an element, what you can do is you can subject these metal, you can make a solution of metal in liquid ammonia and bubble oxygen through this solution in a controlled manner, and that can help you to exclusively synthesize either the monoxide or the peroxide or the superoxide of that particular elements. Okay, so you can make uh, all these three types of oxide for every element in the alkali metal group. Now, coming to the features of the monoxide. So, oxides, monoxides are basically uh, basic in nature. They are basic in nature. And the reason why they are basic in nature is because when you react the monoxide with water, it forms the corresponding hydroxide. So, what I would like you to do is please go and write the balanced chemical equation for alkali metal reacting with water to form the corresponding hydroxide. Please try to write the equation and practice it. So, more oxides are basic in nature because they usually form hydroxides in aqueous solution. Now, these are ionic as well. So, since metal oxides are ionic in nature, they are kind of colorless. Now, why I say this statement is because when we talk about ions, the ions are usually having a noble gas configuration. So, exciting an electron, okay, from the noble gas configuration to a higher energy level requires high energy. So when it reverts back to its ground state, it will be emitting light not in the visible range but in the beyond the visible range. So that is why the ionic salts are usually colorless. So oxides being ionic in nature, they are usually colorless. However, and because of that, the lithium and sodium oxides, monoxides, are colorless and they are usually white in color. However, there are certain exceptions like potassium monoxide, rubidium monoxide, or cesium monoxide. They are showing certain colors, but the reason exactly is not known why they are showing the color. But in general, since they are ionic, they shouldn't show any color. Now, coming to the crystal structure that these monoxides have, if we compare the lithium, sodium, potassium, and rubidium, they have an anti-fluoride structure. Now, what do you mean by an anti-fluoride structure? So, if you remember whatever you have learned about the crystal structure, there was different types of crystal structure. So, one of the crystal structure type is uh, crystal type of fluorite, that is calcium fluoride structure. Okay, so this is one of the crystalline type, that is calcium fluoride, and this is called as your fluorite. So now this is the fluoride structure where you have the calcium and fluoride ion. So when you see the crystal structure of this is called as fluoride crystal structure. Now these lithium, sodium and potassium and rubidium, they are showing an anti-fluoride structure. That means just it is having a fluoride structure, but only thing is in place of the cation you will have the anion. So in place of cation here is calcium, so in this place you will have the oxide ion, and in place of the anion, that is F minus, you will be having the cation. That's why it is called as an anti-fluoride structure. However, cesium monoxide has an anti-CdCl2 structure. So whatever the crystal structure of the cadmium chloride, the position of the anions and cations would be interchanged, and that's why you have these terminologies called anti. So to bring that to your knowledge, I brought in this crystal structure. So you are aware of fluoride structure. So anti-fluoride, when it's said, it just means that the cation and anion positions are interchanged from the original one. So that is why they are called as anti in these nomenclature. So these are some of the basic characteristics of the monoxides. Moving on to our peroxides. Now here, peroxides and superoxides you are aware of. If we talk about the, the monoxides are nothing but O2 minus. Now peroxides are what? O2, 2 minus, and your superoxides are nothing but O2 minus. So here the oxidation state is -2, here the oxidation state is -1, here the oxidation state is -half. Okay, so these are the various types of oxides you find formed with the alkali metals. Now, if you look at the properties, magnetic properties of these peroxides and superoxides, peroxides are diamagnetic in nature and superoxides are paramagnetic in nature. So what I would like, how do we know about whether they are paramagnetic or diamagnetic is writing their electronic configuration. So what I would like you to do is write down the molecular orbital electronic configuration for both the peroxides as well as superoxides. So peroxides are nothing but they are 18 electron molecule anion, and this superoxide is a 17 electron molecule. So write down the molecular orbital configuration for both these, and then you will come to know why peroxides are diamagnetic and superoxides are paramagnetic. So I'll be asking you to give me the molecular orbital configuration for these two and then predict me whether they are diamagnetic or paramagnetic. So these peroxides and superoxides are very good oxidizing agent. That means they act as a very good oxidant. So if you look at the peroxides, so if you react your sodium peroxide, they will oxidize the aluminium to their corresponding aluminium oxide. Okay. Similarly, they can oxidize Cr3 plus to nothing but chromate, that is CrO4 2 minus. Okay, so what I would like you to do is kindly write down the balanced chemical reaction for these oxidation reactions. So what I will give you a hint. So this is one of the reaction, that is chromium 3 plus going to chromate. So balance this half reaction. Another half reaction would be your peroxide half reaction. Peroxide half reaction, what is happening? What is getting oxidized? That means O2 2 minus is getting reduced to what? Or OH minus. Okay, so balance this half reaction, balance this half reaction, and then add together, you will get the complete reaction for a peroxide oxidizing chromium 3 plus to chromium chromate ion. Similarly, here also you can write one half reaction where Al is going to Al2O3 and another half reaction where O2 is going to your OH minus. Then probably you can write one more half reaction for that. Okay, so try to write this oxidizing reactions for these peroxides. Now, apart from that, these peroxides, when they react with your water, it forms the hydroxide and releases the hydrogen peroxides. When you react a superoxide, that is KO2 is a superoxide. So when superoxide is reacted with water, it not only forms the metal hydroxide and the peroxide, but it also releases oxygen. So if you compare the oxidizing property of the peroxide and superoxide, superoxides are better oxidizing agent. From this reaction you can make out. So it better, if you ask me, peroxides and superoxides, superoxides are better oxidizing agent. Now, apart from that, let us look at some of the very important useful reactions that these superoxides and peroxide undergo when they react with certain pollutants or greenhouse gases like CO2 or carbon monoxide. So, peroxide, when they react with CO2, it forms sodium carbonate and the oxygen. Similarly, peroxide react with carbon monoxide to form the corresponding carbonate. So this particular application of peroxide, where it absorbs these carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, is actually used in the submarines and confined spaces to remove these toxic gases. Even more better than these peroxides are the superoxides, and these are basically used in different kinds of space capsules and breathing mask. You will find the use of potassium superoxides, which absorb very efficiently the carbon dioxide. Even under excess carbon dioxide, it absorbs the excess carbon dioxide and get converted to bicarbonate and releases as well as oxygen in a little bit larger amount than compared to your peroxides. So that is why these are very good, have a good application in not only removing these greenhouse gases but also producing oxygens to some extent to make it suitable for life support systems. Now, if we come to the preparation of these peroxides and superoxides, peroxides can be synthesized from their alkali metal by first reacting with the oxygen to form the monoxide, and this monoxide can be continued further to react with oxygen to form the peroxide. However, superoxides cannot be prepared from alkali metal directly by oxygenation. You need to oxidize your peroxide with oxygen to get your superoxides. So this is the preparation for your peroxide as well as for the superoxide. So all these points which I have discussed with you today, you will find in this book that is J.D. Lee. So kindly go through it, and during the live session I'll be discussing about these equations, and I will asking you how to balance it and all those things we will be discussing in our live sessions. So thank you very much for your kind attention.